and getting the much needed information that you came to receive. And so I'm so happy that you are deciding to put yourself first and take time out of your busy day, your busy life, to focus on yourself. I am Nina, the corner coach you didn't know you needed, and I am presenting this session, Hey Mama, Who Are You? This session is about self-identity and reconnecting with who you really are at your core so that you can better serve those you love. This image on this screen is an image of my beautiful two children. It is just for attention only, just for the emotions and the feels. So I want you right now to make a commitment, though. These are two little people that I've made a commitment to. And so while we're in this space, I just have some ask of you so that we can make this a pleasant session. The first commitment that I want you to make is to understand that this is a protected space, okay? Meaning that there is no judgment, there is no shame. We're in this together, and we probably have some shared experiences, but guess what? We are still here and we're still standing. So I want you to feel free to share as much as you like, or if you aren't as comfortable, that's okay too. But know that this is a protected, shared space made just for you. The second commitment that I want you to make is to understand that this takes engagement. This is an interactive session, so please utilize that chat feature. I'm going to give you some prompts throughout the session for you to give me some notes and give me some feedback. Remember, you're only going to get out of this what you put into it, so please engage and let's have some fun, okay? The third thing is, I want you to strive to be honest with yourself during this time with me. The first step in growth is to be honest with yourself about where you are, about who you are, about how you've been thinking and how you've been feeling. You can't take a step forward if you really aren't being honest with yourself about where you are right now. So I want you to make a commitment that while you're here with me, you're going to be honest. You don't have to be honest in the chat, but at least be honest in your heart and in your thoughts, okay? So let's move on. What are we gonna do here today? So I took some time to build a lot of thought work. So that's what this is. This is going to be active thought work for you to reconnect with who you are at your core. And I'm going to say that a lot because who you are at your core is very important to how you operate and flow in your everyday movement. Okay. So what we're going to do here today is I want you to recognize, you should be able to walk away and recognize at least 4 areas where you can create some separation in who you are at your core compared to who you are expected to be based on your responsibilities and commitments. Now, if you aren't able to answer these 4 questions by the end of the session, you will at least hit the trigger button to begin to think about some actionable steps to releasing some stressors and re-identifying who you are. Not just as a mom, as a spouse, caregiver, entrepreneur, but just who you are in your core again. So who am I? I am, again, Nina, your corner coach. And basically, I feel my place here in life is to motivate, support, and encourage. Here is a detailed explanation of kind of my background and my education. And while all that's important, that really doesn't show who I am. And so we'll get to that on the next slide, but I just wanted to give you an idea that you are in the room with someone who has 8 years of military experience, someone who has 5 years of leadership development and relationship development in the educational sector, someone who has experience with counseling and coaching one-on-one and in group settings. So I want you to feel pretty confident that you are in good hands and you're in safe hands. But my question is, and I'm sure you're wondering, how am I really qualified to talk about re-identifying with my core? And that's because I've had to live some years disengaged with my identity. And they were some hard years and they were some hurtful years. But I have really gotten to a place I feel that I am growing to really accepting the process it takes to continuously tap back into that core and that true identity. So what I say, I choose me every day. I choose me every day. And while I'm so committed to my children, I'm so committed to my husband, I am just as committed to myself and really giving them the best of me. So I am a mom, I am a wife, I am a mompreneur, I'm a stay-at-home mom. So I do have a lot of experiences that will pour into this conversation as to re-identifying myself. So I want to know who you are. Let me know in the chat who we have with us today. Who are you? What kind of environment are you in? Are you single, living the boss life in the corporate field? Are you entrepreneur minded and goal oriented? Who do I have in the chat? Let me see. Okay. All right. Well, I'm so happy again to have you here. And I know and I pray that this be a very life-changing moment for you. So as a mom, I'm sure we have all said, oh my goodness, I have lost myself in being a mother. I used to go around saying that all the time, that, oh, I've given everything to the children and I just don't know who I am anymore. Until I read something one day, I read this quote and it said, I didn't lose myself in motherhood. I actually found myself. And again, it was those hard moments. I'll give you a specific example just to help you understand that you are not alone. It was a summer day in 2019, and I had been a mom at that point for 4 years, doing the best that I could, exceeding my own expectations, making sure everything was quote unquote perfect. And I had a girlfriend call me one day, and all she did was ask how I was doing. That's all she asked, how I was doing. And y'all, 35 minutes later, I came to myself and realized I had been on the floor crying, absolute mess, absolutely distraught. And I had come to the realization that I had been overwhelmed. I had been stressed out, dealing with depression and anxiety, and I didn't even realize it because I was not taking the time to stop and check in with myself. I was pouring out into my children and giving them everything that I thought that they needed, but failing to give myself what I needed. So that's how I lost myself in my children and being a stay-at-home mom and giving everything to them, and then had to really face some hard truths that I needed to take care of myself in order to really pour into them and give them the best. So how did I find myself? I began attending lots of webinars, listening to podcasts, talking to Jesus. I am a true friend of Jesus, true child of Jesus. And I came across a webinar that was being presented by Lisa Nichols. And if you don't know Lisa Nichols, she is a fantastic speaker who will get you in check very quickly. But she gave this parable about a glass of water. And so she took it through different stages where the glass of water was empty. She took it, she poured some more water until it was midway, and she took it until it was just about to the top before it overflew. And so what the story was that a lot of us are operating in this manner from day to day. We are operating from an empty cup, a half full cup, or just about full cup. But in order to operate in that, what do you have to do? You are pouring out of yourself and you're depleting your own energy to give to everyone else. And so what does that leave you? Less than full. It leaves you empty. And so then she poured some more water into the cup until it began to overflow. Y'all, can somebody write that in the chat? It began to overflow. And I'm not getting churchy here, but I just want y'all to get the visual in your head. She poured the water into the cup until it began to overflow. Y'all see the water right there in this image. And what she said was, this is the place that we need to serve others from. Not from an empty place, not from a half full place, not from a full place, but from the overflow. And the reason you flow from the overflow is because that means that you're full. That means you have everything that you need inside of you in order to better serve those around you. When you are serving from half empty or empty, a lot of us, right? We've been serving from that place. How has that worked out for you? Tell me in the chat right now. How has that worked out for you? For me, while I was pouring from empty and half full, I was looking around at my children and my husband, full of love, full of attention, full of food, full of a clean house, everything that they needed, they had. Me, I was exhausted, I was angry, I was resentful because I was left with nothing because I was pouring out, not serving from my overflow. So it's time for us to bust the myth that we have to pour everything we have of ourselves into those that we serve, our children, our jobs, our family members, the people we take care of, and flip the focus to ourselves. Say that in the chat. It's time to flip the focus. I'm ready to flip the focus. It's when you flip the focus to yourself, that is the moment that you will truly find joy in serving those that you love. And let me throw this in. Not only are you finding joy when you flip the focus to yourself and serve from your overflow, not only are you finding joy, but you're teaching those around you how to love and treat themselves as well. And so when you're teaching them, they're going to in turn go out and teach others how to treat them because they're serving from their overflow. So I'm going to continue to say that. That's going to be our key buzzword for the session. We, remember, are trying to serve from the overflow. I want to get to the overflow. Okay. So now we are going to get into the meat and potatoes. In terms of re-identifying ourselves at our core, I want to know what happens or what's going on when you're feeling overwhelmed and confused with what's going on in life. What's going on? For me, I'll tell you, when I'm feeling overwhelmed and confused with what's going on in life around me, it's because I don't have control. And as Black women, as moms, as entrepreneurs, as corporate women, just as bosses, we have been ingrained to need to know and feel in control of what we have the responsibility of, what's been placed in our plate. We have to know, how it's going to, what's the outcome going to be. We have to be in control of the logistics of getting that outcome to a place. And so when you have a sense that you have lost control, or you really have never had it in terms of the people around you, the outcomes, it does cause some disruption in your emotional state. It causes disruption in how you process successes and challenges. And it also causes disruption in how you navigate meaningful relationships. And that is our everyday lives. If you're operating out of a false or expired lens, you simply won't see clearly. And that's why I have this elephant in here, because it shows us that when the elephant in the room is to release the control and to accept life for what it is, accept our circumstances for what it is. So the statement that I have here, accepting reality, means that I truly recognize the situation for what it is, and I'm going to strategize to overcome it and not necessarily eliminate it. And that's how we get a clear vision. That's how we clear some of that disruption. Because when we're trying to hold on to the control, things get a little fuzzy. Because the reality of it is we don't have control out of everything. So I want you to stop and think about these few steps that I'm going to give you in terms of accepting reality and letting go of control. The first thing I want you to do is come out of denial. Come out of denial of the fact that things may not be as you hope for them to be. Operate in the reality. What is going on right now What is the truth of what is going on right now? And how am I going to manage this? How does that make you feel? That's question number 2, or tactic number 2. I want you to think about the feelings. Feel the feelings. Write it down, sing it, dance it, listen to it, but don't ignore it. Accepting reality means sometimes it's going to be hard, and you have to feel your way through that. Sometimes it's going to be difficult. Sometimes it's going to hurt, but you have to get through in order to get through. Did you catch that? You have to get through in order to get through. So I want you, after you have come out of denial, after you have felt your feelings, after you wrote it, sung it, danced it, however it is that you need to get it out, I need to bring yourself back to the present moment. And when I say bring yourself back to the present moment, you're asking yourself, are the feelings that I have in line with what is actually happening in the present moment? Or am I holding on to a past experience and still feeling those feelings? Or on the flip side of that, am I anxious about what's to come in the future? Those are some things that we have no control over. Those things of the past, those things of the future. But what about what's taking place right now? So I want to ask you, what are the areas of your current circumstances that you're having a hard time accepting? And we're talking about dealing with reality. And I'll give you an example. I was trying so hard to control my children when they got home from school. Now, I have never received a bad call, a bad report card, or bad report call from their school in terms of their behavior. Never, 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 never. And I had to really come to terms and understand that the reality is these children are well behaved. I've done my job. They know how to act out in public. They have manners, and they need a place to release. And when they come home, they're comfortable in their home, and they're going to release that. And so instead of trying to control them and have them be picture perfect at home, I have to face the reality that they need to release. That was a hard thing for me to accept because I wanted peace in my home. So I just want you to think about what are some areas of your current circumstances that you are having a hard time accepting. I'll take it a step further. You're used to being able to go out on your own. Before you had kids, you were able to do that. You're used to not having to wake up or be on call for another person. That reality changes when you have children. That's a hard thing for some people to accept. What aspects do you not have control over and can't change? And when we're talking about finding our identity and reconnecting with our identity, part of that is dealing with the reality of now. What things can you let go of? What aspects can I change to produce the reality that I desire? In a lot of circumstances and situations, we do have some controllables. And I'll give you a thought. A lot of times that starts with yourself. When we think about the control and when we think about things that we can change, we have to start with ourselves. When you start to change your mindset and when you change your thought process and not necessarily those of other people, that's when your circumstances and your realities begin to change, because you're changing your thoughts and your processes because you're the only one who can change yourself. You cannot change anybody else, and they can't change you. So the aspects that you can change that you really should be focusing on starts with yourself. So I'm going to take a pause and I want y'all to drop in the chat one aspect, if you feel comfortable, one aspect or one thought that you can change for yourself. That will have an impact on changing your circumstances. Yeah, I love it. I love it. All right, so we've gotten the elephant out of the room. That was a lot to process. And I hope you were able to follow me through that journey of kind of coming to terms with where your reality is, not your past, not your future, but in terms of re-identifying and reconnecting with your true self. It starts with understanding what you have to work with. So the next thing I want us to do, because that was so much information, I want us to just stop for a second and smell the flowers. And when I say smell the flowers, I want you to take a deep breath in. Hold it for 3 seconds and release it. All right. Let me know in the chat if y'all feeling okay. If y'all following me, if I'm hitting any triggers, let me know. So this may be my favorite part of this session because this is where it takes most of the work. This is where it's going to get a little tight because it has become so easy to fall into the routine of getting up, serving others, keep going. And then after all of that is done, what do we have left? But stop and think about that. Who are you left with after doing all that? And this is how I'm going, I want you to know that this is you that I'm talking about. Or if not, I'll just take it and I'll say, this is me that I'm talking about, or this is how I used to be. When you're asked to introduce yourself, what do you say? Put it in the chat. Give me a 1-sentence introduction. When somebody says, oh, nice to meet you, tell me about yourself. What do you say? Okay, let me tell you what I used to say. Hi, my name is Nina, and I'm a wife and mom of 2 little kids. Does that sound familiar? Now, while that gives a great description of what my roles and my responsibilities are, I said nothing about who I am at my core. So I have some statements here on the screen that will get you thinking about your true identity. And because the thing is, when you truly understand and are connected with your true identity, you become very intentional about releasing the pressure of unrealistic expectations that come from ourselves, our culture, our society, and those within our immediate circle of reach. I'm gonna say that again. When you truly understand and are connected with your true identity, you become very intentional about releasing the pressure of unrealistic expectations that come from ourselves, our culture, our society, and those within our immediate circle of reach. So when we establish boundaries based on who we present ourselves to be, it shifts the expectations that are placed on us. But we first have to know who we are in order to know who to present. So I want you to take a moment either on a sheet of paper or in the chat or in the workbook that you have. I want you to stop and think about these sentences and fill them in for yourself. And I want you to answer them excluding your roles and responsibilities. The first one, I am. And you fill that in whatever way you feel led to. I am powerful. I am vocal. I am determined. I am a motivator. I am happy. I am joyful. You fill that in with any word outside of your roles and responsibilities. Next, I want. What do you want? And this is what we're thinking about, our identity now. What do you want out of life? What do you want out of your next quarter? What do you want out of specific relationships? I want to be heard, or I want to travel. I want to be fulfilled in relationships that I have. What is it that you want? I am my best when, drop it in the chat. I am my best when I have had at least 7 hours of sleep. That's my reality. I am my best when I've had a cup of coffee. That's my reality. I am my best when I'm surrounded by other women and we're engaged in conversation. You can go as far and as deep as you want. We're engaged in conversation about life experiences. I'm my best in those moments. My strengths are not your strengths in what you can do in terms of for other people, but your strengths in building yourself up. And my weaknesses are, going back to those realities. The reality is we aren't strong in everything. We aren't perfect in everything. There are some weaknesses. And when you are true and accepting of those weaknesses, that's when you connect to who you are. Y'all doing okay? The other part of this is understanding that this is very fluid. So who I was 10 years ago is not who I am today. And so if I had done this exercise 10 years ago, these answers would have looked very differently. And who I saw myself as and who I presented myself as 10 years ago looks very differently than who I am today. I hope and I intend to be very different in 10 more years. I hope to be different tomorrow. This is fluid. Circumstances change who we are. Our realities, our current lifestyles change who we are. But the thing is, having a practice to come back to, having these questions, you can add to them, you can take some away, but having some kind of practice is going to build that muscle memory. It's going to give you a table of identity to come back and reference to and help you to shift as your realities shift. So it's going to take some hard questions that you have to ask yourself. It's going to take you being real with yourself. It's going to take you releasing some of the things that you cannot control so that you can stay current with your circumstances. Whew. My needs and my desires matter, and they deserve to be met. They deserve to be met. When I was lost in my motherhood journey, I didn't honor myself enough to understand that I needed to take time for myself. I felt like I had to just, all of my time was for my children and for my husband. All of my time was meant to serve them. And again, it was in that moment when I was on the floor for 35 minutes crying that began the work for me to understand that, okay, I can't do this empty. Remember, getting back to serving out of our overflow. I can't do this empty. It is proven that managing self-care decreases stress. It decreases anxiety and it decreases depression. It increases all aspects of our health, physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Now, there's this debate going on about what really is self-care, but that's a question that only you can answer. So I want to know, what do you do for self-care? Put it in the chat right now. What do you do for self-care? Yeah. So for me, it used to be manis and petties. It used to be trips. It used to be, lunches and brunches with my girlfriends. And while all that is amazing, yes, it is. What happens when here we are, it's December, and you have a trip planned for July? But what happens when you're stressed and depressed in December? What do you do between December and July? So while I agree that all of those forms of self-care that we mentioned are for sure forms of self-care, we got to take it back a few steps. And we have to think about, if I only had 5 minutes, if I only had 3 minutes, what could I do to recharge or clear my mind? What can I do? You've already done one. I'll give you a hint. You've already done one so far in this session. But take it a step further, what would my environment look like to achieve the desired outcome if I took this 3-minute action? How can I consistently incorporate this into my daily routines? You can't get a mani and pedi every day. And how will these 3 to 5 minutes change my perspective of my very eventful days? For me, my go-to is that breathing exercise. Sometimes I have to tell myself, all right, Nina, stop, smell the flowers. And the other part of that is blow out the candles. Smell the flowers, take your deep breath in and blow out the candles. Something, I have to go in the bathroom and shut the door. I still hear the kids outside. That stress is not going anywhere. But in this 3-minute time, what can I do so that I can clear my mind and go out? We're talking about getting back to your self-identity. And in order to do that, you have to clear out the stress in a quick manner. You don't always have the pleasure of going on a trip. You don't always have the pleasure of getting a mani and pedi. So what can you do right now to clear out some stress? Taking care of yourself is part of taking care of your kids. Remember, overflow. We want to serve from the overflow. So we're going to do it again. We're going to smell the flowers. Deep breath in. Hold it for 3 seconds. And release the breath. The next part, in terms of truly connecting with who you are at your core, when you are isolated, when you are in your brain and emotionally, when you're isolated, you feel like you're all alone. You feel like you have to do it all. But guess what? You can't, and you won't, and you don't know it all. It's time for us to put down the heavy burden of isolation and independence. I know that goes against everything that we were taught. Independence. You don't need anybody for anything. You don't have to call anybody for anything. You don't need help. You can do it. Actually, I do. And you do too. And you're not alone. When you are disconnected from your identity, when you are an emotional wreck, you lose sense of who you truly have in your circle. And I want to get you back to a place where you can understand that you are not alone. So how do you do that? Ask for help. What? That goes against everything. Ask for help. Yeah, it's okay. Ask for help. When you're asking for help, here are some things to think about so that when you are asking for help, you don't take it as a personal attack on your independence. What is your why? What is your why for this task? This thing that you can't figure out and you can't seem to do. What is your why? If I do this myself without asking for help, am I getting closer to my why or further away from my why? If I do this and don't ask for help, am I working smarter or am I adding more stress on myself and working harder? If I do this myself, will I feel stressed or overwhelmed? Or if I ask for help, will that release some of the pressure for me? Will that free up some time so that I can actually go do something that's going to get me a little closer to my why? If I ask for help and release some time and release some stress, is it going to help me make better use of myself? Stress has a powerful way to have you feeling like no one will help you. It has a powerful way of putting you in a box. And so to overcome that, when you understand who you are and why you want to do the things that you want to do or why you need to do the things that you need to do, you can come outside of that box. So we have to understand that we're not alone. Accept the reality that we can't do it all ourselves. And accept the fact that it is okay to ask for help. So it's time to put all that together. When you put all that together, you have it's a lot of thought work. Yes, I understand. But when you put all that together, you have actionable steps that you sometimes have to come back to for you to become centered with who you are at your core. You become centered with who you desire to present to the world, to those that you love, so that you can establish those boundaries and those realistic expectations. So as you're going through accepting your realities and releasing control and identifying who you are outside of your roles and responsibilities, when you're going through all of that thought work, those questions that we talked about, I want you to ask yourself, where do I need to see immediate change? Is it in my physical health? Is it in my spiritual health? Is it in my financial health? And when you go back and ask yourself those questions about who you are, what you want in terms of whatever aspect it is you want to see immediate change, begin to develop this action plan of how to get there. What's one thing that you can change right now that would align yourself with your desired outcome? Is that, okay, I'm not going to sleep till 9 o'clock, I'm going to get up at 5 o'clock? Is it, okay, instead of 2 sodas and 1 cup of water, I'm going to drink 2 cups of water and 1 soda today? And it's those changes that connect to who you are, it's those changes that connects to your reality, it's those changes that's asking for help and accountability that will give you that desired outcome. Has this all made any sense to you? Let me know in the chat. Let me know if it's something that you missed or something that you would like to talk with me one-on-one about a little further. Let me know what hit you, what triggered you. I would love to continue this conversation with each and every one of you. I would love to connect with you on a personal level. I would love for you to contact me and reach out with me and stay connected with me. I am a people person. I'm a people lover. My information is here on the screen. I love hearing about journeys and different perspectives and different experiences and how those all play a part of who we are and who we're growing to be and how that can impact the world and how we can do it together. So my information is here on the screen. I will be here at the summit for the next few days. So feel free to pull me over and let's chat. I hope this presentation has sparked something in you for you to know that you're more than just a mom. You're more than just a giver and a server. You are a beautiful woman and you are a beautiful soul. I hope you enjoy it and take care.
Woo! That was so incredible, Nina. The chat is on fire. Ladies, we have the pleasure of asking Nina some questions for the next 15 minutes right before the half hour when our next session starts. So I'm gonna just jump into it. I don't want to cheat you from any time. Our first question comes from Kenya in Africa, Nina. It is from Rispa. Rispa, hey girl, hey. Rispa asks, how do you get to know who you truly are at your core?
Yeah, that's such a great question. It's a journey. It's a daily journey, and it's a daily choice that you have to continuously ask yourself, what is it that I need in this moment? And who am I according to what's going on today? Because what could be going on today affects who you are today, and that could change tomorrow. And so it's not a very stagnant answer. It's not a one size fits all answer. It changes. We're beautiful souls that change consistently based on what's going on around us. And so I think in the workshop, I gave some really good foundational steps to establish and to start thinking about and to come back to when you do feel off balance and when you do feel shifted based on what's going on. So I think you have to ask yourself, what is the reality of what's going on right now? And how do I accept that? And what can I not control? We kind of lose sense of ourselves when we don't have control. That stress and anxiety, it clouds our vision into what we actually have control to change. And so when you accept those realities, you begin to clear out some of the shadiness and cloudiness of trying to figure out a plan and trying to create a roadmap to getting through to the next day or getting through to the next minute. Sometimes we have to take it minute by minute. So I think it's just having those foundational questions that you have to ask yourself, okay, how am I feeling right now and why? And breathing through that and understanding, okay, what do I need to get through this moment?
Yeah, I love that, Nina, because you're right. It's not easy. Like when we watch movies and stuff, they make us think like you close your eyes real quick and you take a deep breath and it's there, boom, like you know your answer. And it's not true, like you're saying. It really does take time, and you alluded to the fact that it changes with time, right? Like we are evolving, right? So it's a constant journey. I can remember for myself, right? I love in your Q&A or in your workshop, and everyone, if you want to ask a question, hit that Q&A button where the chat is. At the top of the chat, you see the chat section, you see the Q&A section. Okay, it's lighting up now. But I remember, Nina, like realizing after asking myself questions, like you said, that I was buried under a whole bunch of stuff, right? Because we we're raised and we know what our parents see for us and what they want us to be, right? Then you go to school and they tell you like, this is a model student, like this is politically correct, this is an A student, and then you go into the workforce and this is, you know, this would get you the best ratings and you have a family and this is a good wife, you know, and this is a good mommy. So yeah, like we're just buried in a lot of stuff. And for myself, I asked myself the question, Casey, I still do this. I've done this for like 13 years now. What would you do if you were not afraid? Woo! And the answer to that, every time, what would I do if I were not afraid? Like that's at my core. Love it. I'm gonna go to the Q&A box and pull up some more questions. The next question comes from Lydia, all the way in LA. What's up, West Coast, Best Coast?
Lydia.
Her question is, what are your morning routines that help you live in your higher self? Great question.
That is a wonderful question. And morning times have become my time. I do not do well. I've accepted that I do not do well when I am woken up by cries and whining and I want and I need. That just sets the whole day for it to be a disaster, right? So I had to sacrifice my time and get up before the rest of the house gets up. So I get up. That's my prayer time. That's my meditation time. That's my time to listen to whatever music that's going to set me up from the day, to watch a video or a TED talk, or just to pour. That's my opportunity to pour in myself so that when the rest of the house wakes up, I'm full. I'm full. And so I'm overflowing at that point because I poured in and I poured in and I poured in. So I sacrifice that morning time and I wake up and I use that time to do whatever it is in that moment that I feel is going to set me up, whether it's the prayer, the meditation, or the sing. Sometimes it's just finding another space where I'm not touching anybody else's body and taking an extra 5 minutes to nap. Taking another 5 minutes just to be in my own space and not feel hands and feet and anything else, right? So just finding those spaces because we give so much, Casey and Lydia, we give, and the other women, we give so much all the time to other people. That's whether you're a mom, an entrepreneur, or a corporate woman, you're always pouring and giving and touching other people. But you have to find that space and that time for yourself to kind of reconvene and to re-identify and come back to those questions that was asked in the first question, like, what do I need in this moment to continue to be able to pour from a place of overflow, to be able to serve from a place of overflow? I got to come back to me. I got to come back to me. And so that's what I do. I find those moments, whether it's just sitting and fixing my coffee and just saying, oh, this is a good cup of coffee this morning. You know, sometimes that's all it takes. That's all it takes.
Oh, love that. Love that. The next one is coming from Michelle Jones in Chucktown. We got Chucktown in the house.
Hey.
Stand up.
Did I hear that South Packet twang in that workshop?
Right. Right. Michelle asks, once you get a certain age, is it too late? I'm 50.
It's never too late. It's never too late. It's never too late, because you have to think about how many years has it been put on us, these expectations that we have to live a certain way. And not just how old is your mama and your grandmama and your great grandmama, but no, how many years since we've been brought over here, since we've been drugged over here, that these expectations, these unrealistic expectations, been placed on us. So that's years of adjusting. That's years of, like you said, big mama stuff that's been put on us that we have to say, you know what, that worked for big mama, but that don't work for me.
Say that.
That worked for auntie, but that don't work for me. So it's never too late. And again, it's a fluid journey. It's a fluid journey because life continuously gives us different opportunities and different experiences that's going to shift who we are. And so it's never too late to decide to put yourself first. It's never too late. Never too late.
Woo! That's
what's that, Luther? Never too late, never too late, never too late.
That's a bar. It reminds me of something I said in a poem before, where it's like, I shouldn't rush my healing. It didn't take an overnight thing to get me here, right? It was a lifetime of trauma. Who should it take an overnight? Love that. Okay, let's keep it going. So we have first of all, Keisha showing out, y'all. Keisha is number 1 on the leaderboard. Y'all check that out at the bottom left of your screen. Sis is engaged, okay?
Come on, Keisha.
Come on, Keisha. So Keisha asks, how do you uncover who you are when you've made so many changes to yourself to accommodate expectations?
Oof.
That's a good question.
That's a great question, because we are brainwashed to operate in the unrealistic expectations of others. We are brainwashed to operate in the unrealistic expectations of others. And that's in our homes, in our businesses, on somebody else's job. So you uncover that by asking yourself what you want and who you are. And that doesn't affect, or that's not based on somebody else's task list for you, or that's not based on somebody else's job description for you. It's who you are outside of all of that, Keisha. It's who you are and what you need in that moment. It's being realistic and getting all those elephants out of the room, and just when you're left with yourself, and you're left with that understanding, okay, I can't do any of this. I can't live up to any of these expectations if I don't know who I am.
Amen.
If I don't know how to get there. So
Amen. That's good. Nina, thank you so much for pouring into us. You lit our lives up. You snatched our edges, sis. You were stepping on toes. But it was good. It was very sobering. So thank you for all that you've poured into us, and thank you for answering these questions live. Very good questions, ladies. Stay engaged. We love you and we mean it, sis.
I love y'all, each and every one of y'all, all 700 plus. I love each and every one of you. I am here. I want to see us take off the expectations of others and thrive and live in the joy of serving ourselves and putting ourselves first. So in any way that I could be a part of that process for you, a part of that journey for you, I'm here. Connect with me, and I'm going to hold your hand while we do it together.
Amen. Ashe. Thank you, Nina. Beautiful lady. So just so you know, in the event feed, there is a survey for this workshop. We want your feedback, right? These reps are important for us too, right? And we need affirmation is good for everybody, right? And a lot of times we don't hear affirmation until we go to therapy. And we're like, oh, it feels good to say something. So, to hear somebody say, oh man, that poor you, that must be whatever. Oh, you're doing a great job, or oh, I see you, right? So if you can help us, right, to continue to get reps and get better, that would be great. So check out the feed at the top left of your screen and go ahead and rate the session so that Nina can have some feedback. We can continue giving you content that you need and deserve. So now I have the honor of warming you up, and I don't have much to warm you up with. Sis got all the power. Nefertiti is coming to the stage in the next session. So make sure you go to the next session. It is called, y'all, Where is the Compassion When You're Fatigued? Come on, somebody. That's in a vein, right? Where is the compassion when you're fatigued? That is the next session. Nefertiti is super dope, a powerhouse of a woman, and I want to see y'all there. So that's all we have for this session. Love y'all, mean it. Go ahead and reply to the poll in the feed, and we'll see you on the other side of the next session. Take care.